You're on tune to niceup TV. Bless up yourself.
Out here though, a reggae online.
Will, this is the original Pioneer Jolic shot. It's come the thing called Born in a Babylon. Big up white to the teeth. And you know them man, they live real and clean.
Large up all of New Zealand massive, you know, and me, letter white to the T straight out of Britain. Yes, it's me, YT. I'm a reggae dancehall artist from England, you know what I mean? I grew up in a place called Ipswich. It's about an hour and a half from London, like a country town. And the thing with Ipswich is, because it used to be quite an industrial town back in the 50s, a lot of West Indian immigrants settled here. So we have like a West Indian community here that dates back to the 50s, obviously. So I grew up around a lot of West Indian kids. And that's how I first got to sort of hear the reggae music and everything like that. This a concrete jungle, it made me the man I am, born in a Babylon. I used to play football over the park with some kids, yeah, and their parents were West Indian, and then going back to round his house, I heard, you know, like the music and everything like that. And at that time I was mostly into like the specials and madness and the beat and the selector, like the whole ska two-tone thing that was happening over here at the time. And then I started to find like the reggae side of it. And I wanted to know what it was and how I could hear more of it and whatever, and it was just like that. And then also my cousin, she was really getting into Lovers Rock at that time, and she gave me Night Nurse actually on a 10-inch, and Dennis Brown Halfway Up, Halfway Down. That's like before I was actually buying records myself. They were like two of the first reggae cuts I got, and I rinsed them and I wore the grooves out of them, you know what I mean?
Big up Whitey and the Sativa family. Now say nothing more.
This is not an illegal broadcast. We are doing job and play real music. No pop idol, no X Factor. Them style you can't manufacture. A real music for real people we play. Road music for road people we play. Ghetto music for ghetto people we play. Strong music for strong people we play.
At that age, I wasn't really able to go to like no concerts or anything like that. You know what I mean? It was more a matter of just having the music on tape and then buying records myself or whatever, or seeing whatever there was on TV. I was a little bit too young. Maybe when I was about 12, that's when I used to start going around like what they call blues parties, which was like illegal house parties with sound systems strung up in the house. And man used to be living what they call quad boxes, which is basically a box with 4 18-inch speakers in it. They probably have one upstairs and one downstairs, not to mention like the mid-range on top. So it's a full sound system set up inside a house, and it plays all night. The party's not really starting till like 12 o'clock, like basically after pubs close at 11. That's when it starts. It's not full till like when clubs are finished around 2 o'clock. That's when it's at its peak. And it goes on until daylight, until the last people are standing or whatever, you know what I mean? So me and my friend, he would say he was staying at my house and I would say I was staying at his house, and we would sneak out to these parties, and that was like my first proper experience of, you know, like going to listen to the music and everything. It was a nice thing. I really miss it actually, but they passed a thing over here called the Criminal Justice Bill, and that gave them the right to actually, you know, storm the party and confiscate the gear. So obviously it became undoable then after that, really.
My sound is the champion sound. It could have been 45 and the dog played round. Now by the bright and test for me sound. You end up 6 foot underground. Some boy.
In the 80s there was a lot of sound systems and DJs and that in my town. I mean, my sound, that's always been my sound even up to this day, is Ashanti sound. But you used to have sound like Jahama, Mandinka, Melody 21st Century, Dracula, Fresh Beat, Missile sound, which is still going on to this day. So yeah, there was a lot of sounds in the town still.
Do you know what it takes to be a father? Even when the pressure getting harder, you know you still can't run away. Your kids like they want to straight.
One of my first albums was Aswad Not Satisfied. And I also bought Coughing Up Fire, which was a live Saxon sound system album. And that was it. I think the Saxon album was the one when at the beginning of the album, Papa Levi's cussing about Maggie Thatcher and Ronald Reagan and all that. Like, they was obviously the heads of government at the time. And when he was talking about social issues and those things, I think that was the kind of thing that kind of really made me think, all right, this is the way I can express myself about the way I'm feeling about what's going on and everything like that. So that's when I started to really think seriously, started to write my own lyrics.
This is my England story, my true reggae story. Listen my story, my England history. Hey.
So one night now, Ashanti was clashing with a sound called Field Marshal. It was in October 1987. I can't remember the exact date, but it was in October 1987 anyway. And my friend must have come up to me in the dance and said, look, why don't you try a thing? Why don't you, touch a little piece? And I was like, nah, man, nah. I was too scared. But in the end, he convinced me, more or less dragged me around there. And then they just pulled up the music and just pushed the mic in my hand.
I remember Fat Man, the foundation sound, the mighty Joshaka in a class of
First lyric I ever chatted, on the sound was, "Me no like what I go down in South Africa." And it was all about President Botha and Rare, like that was apartheid at that time, and then, obviously Mandela was in jail at that time. I must have chat 2 or 3 lines. The place went bananas in it because they couldn't believe that at first I could chat the patois like that, and secondly, like there was lyrics and meaning involved in it as well, because that was quite rare in them times. Like, you could get away more in them days with just sort of rhyming, So if you've actually got like a concept and a subject in your lyrics, that sort of put you a cut above. So it made a big impact even from then. And from I first got that big forward and the crowd was going mad and everything, that was it. There was that was it from then on. That's what I was doing. Do you know what I mean? All my energy went into that.
Listen my reality song. Listen to my reality song. White tea with the reality song, yeah. It was the 7th of December 2005. 3 take the train and 1 take a bus ride. With a evil intention, they on them mind. Fi take a lot of innocent lives. So me cry, what a wicked act. Suicide bomber them, they boat with women and them knapsack, yo. When him set up that, a lot of innocent life disappear in a flash, yo.
Well, them times Ashanti used to play out 3 times a week at the Caribbean Club in our town. Monday, Wednesday and Friday. And I was there. I was the first one there, man, you know what I mean? Setting up the sound and all of the rest of it, and just got involved like that. Because from that night, at the end of that dance, they said they want me to hang with the sound from now. And I felt like I'd just been signed by Manchester United or something like that. You know what I mean? It was like a dream come true for me, for them to want me to hang with them and chat on the sound and everything. So yeah, that was it. I was full on with Ashanti. And as I say, they were playing 3 times a week just in our town, and then some weekends they'd be playing out, around East Anglia, London sometimes, you know what I mean? So yeah, that was it. I was obsessed with sound system from then on.
A lot of innocent life disappear in a flash. What a evil suicide bomber in a divorce, him ready for detonate that. Tell them.
In about 88 or 89, I met 2 people. We played in the same dance as them. Basically, it was some kind of clash, I guess. And at the end of the dance, the 2 guys, Riddler, who's my brethren, he passed away now, actually, but and a guy called Polito Dan, they said that they wanted me to come to London and chat on Styling Media, because they're saying that Ipswich was like too small for what I'm doing. If I was to come to London, people would go crazy. And they convinced me to go and chat on their sound. When I chatted on their sound now for the first time, that was when I actually thought that I could actually be big in this thing, rather than just, because I wasn't even thinking in them terms. It was just fun. It's just what I wanted to do. And I wasn't getting no money out of it. It wasn't actually going anywhere like as a career or anything. When they brought me to London and I saw the reaction what I had in London, I realised that, I had potential to sort of go far in the thing, you know what I mean?
Reality time again, unconscious time again. I want you to reality. Where you feel scream at the top of your voice and say no, Babylon. Babylon system can make you bow. All them a try to make you live like John Crow. Tell me now go so. Right now we have to.
First proper recordings I did was with a guy called Pat Alexandra, and he used to have a label called Eastern Records, and he was the first one to sort of record me. I remember making 4 dub plates for Ashanti and some basic ideas for some songs, and he was the first one to press up a record of mine. It was called Stop Peddling, and that was sort of the very first recordings I did. Then, like I was saying, when I started to get more into the London scene, chat on a few London sounds and everything, I started to record with some other people, but that was slightly later. I just went through that time there, and to be honest, I think I drifted around too much as well. I don't think I was focused enough. I was just basically surviving, do you know what I mean, as well. A lot of people either voiced the tunes and didn't really have the network to promote them properly, or they never actually released them, or never even mixed them live. So then we found means of making our own money to actually put things out. I put my first record out myself in '93 called Crisp Biscuit Girl, and I paid for the studio time, for the pressing, everything myself.
It's something called a wish list. That's how I do the reality.
From 89 and 90 was the birth of the rave scene over here. So a lot of people who had been into reggae and sound system culture got into rave thing, you know what I mean? So the scene really changed here at that time, and the whole vibe of having like each sound had their own MCs and singers, that kind of changed, and the thing became from one deck, and the MCs sort of drove the sound. It became more a juggling thing where reggae sound system started to play with 2 decks and mix the records in, and it became more about dub plates. You know, basically the format that we see today started around then, really. Sounds like from Jamaica started like Bodyguard and Stone Love and all of that. So it kind of changed the vibe. And over here, I think a lot of that was because of the rave thing, you know, 2 Technics decks and the whole different format. So that was what was happening. That was obviously significant in the early 90s over here. But we still had a lot of good music coming out over here. Like a lot of big artists like Sweetie Irie, Maccabee, General Lee. You know what I mean? The thing was still happening over here big time at that point.
Comfort out the truth and uplift the planet. What is that?
My brethren Digital, who's a big drum and bass producer. Me and Digital grew up. I realised when I named out all the sounds, I didn't name out Sir Tropic, which was his dad's sound, which was like a very big sound. They were the resident sound of the Caribbean Club. And hanging around with Dig from when I was about 19, he must have been about 15 at that time. So we sort of developed in the music together, but he went his way with it because he is one of them that when the rave thing came out, he was kind of engrossed in that for a while, you know. So yeah, when he said he was going to Jamaica, because everybody used to scare me about Jamaica, we used to hear so many crazy stories, and I didn't actually have a connection that I could go and feel safe staying in their house or whatever. So when he said he was going, because at this time his mum had moved out there, so we had somewhere safe to stay and everything, I was like, right. So I saved up some money and went with him for the first time. And I linked his family in Spanish Town, and that was like my sort of good link into Jamaica. And I just fell in love with the place. It was the first major travelling I'd done as well. I'd only been to like Belgium or France and like quite European places. So for me, even though I'd heard so much of the music and everything, and sort of been around Jamaican people, to go to the place was a real eye-opener. You know, it made it all a lot more real. First, we took my tape to his cousin, and he put it on and he played it, and he's like, yeah, okay, and he didn't look impressed at all, and we were like, yeah, this is him kind of thing, and he's like, right, when is he gonna come in? When are we gonna hear him start chatting? And we're like, no, this is me chatting now. And he's like, nah, man, he couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe that was me that he was hearing, you know what I mean? So he stopped the tape and go, man, you're gonna have to do that for me live. I don't believe it. and I did it for him live, and that was it. He's like, yo, come, we're going on street. And we went on street, and as soon as he saw one of his brethren, he's like, yo, blood, chat a piece of that, show him. And his brethren had a bike, and his brethren dropped the bike and everything. He was like, no, I couldn't believe it. He like, couldn't believe that this white kid from England can chat like this, you know what I'm saying? So that was it. They were like, right, we're taking you to jammies, we're taking you to this audition, we're taking you around here, you know what I mean? So they started to carry me around to some studios and like help me to sort of push the thing further out there. When we were at Big Ship, I met ARP for the first time. ARP, the singing group, yeah. And from that now, ARP, because they were like a successful band, I mean, they had been supporting Beanie Man on the Many Moods of Moses tour at that time. And they said, when they heard me, they're like, yeah, man, he's bad, man. Bring him round later. We've got a rhythm that we're voicing round at Cell Block Studio. So we went round to Cell Block Studio, which is in quite a hard part of Kingston. And it was night time as well, so that was my first experience of that, because obviously they weren't letting me go into certain places at night or whatever. So we went round to Cell Block Studio at night and we met them, and they were voicing Lady Saw when we walked in there. And Lady Saw voiced her song, and then I voiced mine, and that was how I linked with ARP. Yeah, so they're so well connected. So when they kind of heard me now and saw the potential, when I went back to Jamaica, I went straight to them, and they were like, right, Book, you can just roll with us. And everywhere they went, I went basically, and that made me see real workings of the industry. You know, I got to hang out properly at the studios, got to meet the artists, the producers. You know, a lot of them would say, oh, let me hear a piece, and you chat a piece, and so, you know, you get a lot of respect, because music over there is everything to them, you know what I mean? So if you're real about the music, and plus they could hear that I wasn't sort of faking it, they could see, they could hear that, you know, I was sort of dedicated to what I was doing. So I got a lot of respect like that, and that's how I kind of learned the scene in Jamaica, you know what I mean?
Make them go and pray with you, they wanna be with. Them can't stop with. If I try black way, we kick down the gate and go through the same way. We'll show them. Tell them take them mind off of it. Tell them take them eye off of it. Tell them shut them out and stop call up with name. Me no know where they find them brain. Tell them take them mind off of it. Tell them take them eye off of it. Tell them shut them out and stop call up with name. Yo, many people them full try themselves. Alright, now they say a long time they not have no nice time, you know. Too much little idiot thing I go on, too much little arms house thing. When we show them style.
So, Tubby Reds now, who is like a good friend of Spragga Benz, and he said he was going to give me an early work on the show Spragga Benz, Assassin, and Tanya Stevens, I think it was. And he said I could work early, you know, like as a warm-up artist. And I worked early and I got a good response. And I also worked at a show early for Baby Sham and Ward 21 then. And that was kind of the show that made London know about me, because I wasn't even on the bill or anything like that. But I came up early and just mashed up the place. So after that now, I saw Rodigan and he was like, oh, everybody was telling me about you the other day. He was at some dance. So it was a thing like my name was starting to spread. People were talking about this white guy who's doing this thing at Rare, right? So I was going to Jamaica, and the link was through Tubby Reds. He said to me if I wanted to be on Sting, and I'm like, of course I want to be on Sting, because Sting is like the biggest dancehall concert in Jamaica. So he had a connection to get me on Sting, so he made a phone call and got me a place on Sting. And when I got there, I saw the big Sting poster. My face was already on the poster, and people were recognizing me on street just from having my face on the poster alone. And I got to work Sting. That was Christmas 2004. So that was also very important in like raising my profile, because when I came back from Sting, what had happened, all of the DJs that had been sending my songs and hadn't really been playing them, when they saw me on Sting, by the time I came back to England, they were all playing the songs, the same songs that I'd sent them like months previously or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But basically, because One Extra broadcasted Sting live, and then I did an interview with Robbo Ranks at Sting, and so by the time Robbo came back to England, he was beating a lot of my tunes. So basically my profile started to raise in London and everything like that. I started to have a little name.
Friends, now they get gangster pose. When it really get gangster, some gangster pros. Little idiot, they get exposed. Son of a run, come bust up no gun.
So yeah, this is when I saw Curtis Lynch. We started doing some work with Curtis Lynch, and Curtis actually comes from a drum and bass background as well, so he kind of has a different approach. Even though he's a total reggae head, he was buying records, you know, as a young kid and all the rest of it. But he was working with Adam F at the time, I think, and he's just a good you know, like he's got production techniques that are sort of more based in like the drum and bass market, but he applies them to reggae. So yeah, it was very easy to work with this, do you know what I mean? And then he linked me with Hip Tones, which was a subsidiary of like Creation Music, which is involved with like Oasis and all those guys. A guy called Alan McGee, he's like one of the big music moguls from over here, really. By the time we actually came around to have the interview with them, Wicked Act had come out about the bombings, and they were totally in love with that track, and on the strength of that they said they wanted to put an album out with me. And so I brought them 23 tracks, and they sort of picked, choose and refused out of the tracks, and in the process of that, before, because the plan was obviously to find a single and then promote the album. Wicked Act had already been out at that time, and in the middle of that time there, I started to get shows abroad and everything like that, and I wrote England's Story on the train from Paris to Nancy in France, because I'd been in Jamaica and around the Christmas time, and Ghetto Story was huge, and I was well into Ghetto Story, so I came back and I started vibing with like the idea of England's Story, and I did England's Story like while they were still putting the album together. England's Story came out as a single, and that became the single that launched the album, really, like organically. It wasn't even a plan, and because I only did it as a bootleg, it wasn't ever done as like officially, so in order to actually release it on the album, yeah, we made it on a different rhythm. We made a mix that was sort of clearance friendly for the album. Curtis Lynch did a different rhythm. I did the original on the 85 rhythm by Dave Kelly.
How happened to a little juvenile? They don't know what it is to be a child. We notice the youth them running wild. Yo, calm down, me yo. We see them and take up gangsta style. We youth them getting so out of hand. Them a go like they no respect no one. When them a not.
That was it basically. From then, it was 2006 when Straight Outta Britain actually came out, and it's been, you know, it's been a good look for me. It's got a lot of work for me in Europe and everything like that. And I did Born in a Babylon was a collection of tunes. Some of them were made specifically for the album, and some of them were just tunes that I liked that had come out in between Straight Outta Britain and, you know, like the date of putting out the second album. The second album came out in 2009, and it was a slightly different album. I was a slightly different person by then as well, I think, you know.
Yo, everybody have them bills to pay right now in the star. You know where I go on. They must say final demand and be a red letter sent on. You know what? Lord of mercy.
I said the bills, they might kill me. They might kill me, the bills just slaughter me. Lord of God, I said the bills, they might kill me. They might kill me, me don't have no money. Don't have no money.
Me say money is the hardest thing to get, and it's the easiest thing to go away. Money problem, it have the whole of we afraid. Sometimes me no know how the bills I get paid. Come is a youth, me work hard from long time. Me stop work 9 to 5, now work 9 till 9.
At the moment, I'm gonna start getting a new album together. I don't have an exact plan for it at the moment, if I'm honest with you. Everybody's in my ears about when's the next album. I hadn't even been thinking in them terms. I've been voicing for Mungo's Hi-Fi. I've been voicing for Vibronics. I've also went to Jamaica this year and got some tracks laid for myself, for my own productions. I'm going to start getting Sativa Records back out. Sativa Records, that's my label that we started in 2003, myself, NJC, Gordon and Digital. And the singles, which were Reggae Jams, Bad Mind People, Wicked Act and England's Story, all actually came out on Sativa Records. But I haven't actually released anything on the label until Born in a Babylon, so there was a gap between like 2006 to 2009, and again there hasn't been anything else on that label since Born in a Babylon. So what I'm going to do now is concentrate on getting some material together and start putting out some rhythms on Sativa Records. So I've been doing some work for that.
You know it's me, I let her wide to the reality.
Back in the day, I used to do it like just on foot. I'd get the records and get them in the boot of my car and drive around London to all the various record shops. You know, some people would take 10, some people would take 100. But it's a very different market now as far as vinyl is concerned. So, you know, you have to think about it totally differently. Like Born in a Babylon was the first thing that I sort of made as a digital release. And that's the way I'm moving with it now. I'm trying to get the website together so that the shop is on the website and sort of move with the times as far as releasing is concerned.
All a firm meditation while the world I rotate. Holy faith, my youth if it try holy faith and try walk the path straight. Holy faith, stamp up some more visa and it is up for the mentor. Everybody want is a food, yeah.
I think what is happening over here, right? What I can say for Europe. 5 years ago when I first really started to tour in Europe, it was crazy. It was a much bigger scene. There was a lot going on, and now we're seeing it declining slightly. I think there are several reasons for this, and I think that's relevant to artists and fans and everybody involved in the thing, really. A lot of people are citing the quality of music that's coming out of Jamaica and saying that the quality of the music itself is not what it was. I think that's valid. I think there's too much music coming out of Jamaica now, and because you can't sell it, because it's not actually being sold for profit anymore, there's no money in it, so it becomes so disposable. Do you see what I mean? Like the rhythms that are turning over so quick, there's probably 10-15 rhythms come out every week or whatever, so the music's becoming a bit mass produced, and also the vibe of the music, the message of the music is becoming a bit diluted. The quality control has gone from the music a little bit, I think. And as an artist and also as a fan or as a selector or whoever, I think that's what we need to do, is address that and start to say, all right, look, we love the music. All right, partying's great. It's great to have dancing songs and party songs. I don't even have a problem with slackness or even occasional badman song or whatever, but let's not lose the overall message of the music. Do you know what I mean? Like the positive message of the music, like going back to like Bob Marley and Burning Spear, and you know, for even say Aswad and Steel Pulse, and do you know what I'm saying? Let's not lose that message of the music, the sort of rebel message of the music, and also the sort of unity and love message of the music, because at the moment a lot of it that's coming out has not really got anything positive to say. Do you know what I mean? So as a selector, you have to think, should you be, you know, if you don't really like it, don't play it because everybody else is playing it or because you think that's what you should be playing. Play what you genuinely believe in. Do you know what I'm saying? And same as an artist, you know, do what you believe in, and it'll be real. If you're doing something that's not real, people will hear that. Do you see what I'm saying? When someone's doing something that they really genuinely feel or genuinely believe in, it resonates with other people. You can't really fake it. That's my feeling anyway. So that's my advice, is be true to yourself. You haven't got to be a gangster, you know? You haven't got to have a different persona. I try and maintain who I am as a person, even though I'm chatting in Jamaican patois when I sing. It's still my character, my sense of humour, my experiences, you know, my take on the world. I'm not trying to be someone from the ghetto or someone who I'm not. Do you see what I'm trying to say? I've been lucky enough to tour with like a lot of the big artists them from Jamaica. I've toured with Bounty Killer over here. But Spragga Benz like is a good friend of mine still. I'm on tour with Spragga Benz at the moment. As far as what's gonna happen next year, just keep recording and keep trying to make good music, you know what I mean? Yo, I'm me, you know. Letter Y to the T, straight out of Britain with the lyrical sitting, and I'm here to endorse niceup.org.nz straight. Log in.
You've been watching Nice Up TV. Rewind and come again.